السلام عليكم شباب، رجعت لكم بحلقة جديدة. قررت اليوم اني انزل لكم مقطع ثاني. في العادة انا على مقطعين في ايام الويكند، بس قبل لا تناموا ننزل لكم المقطع الخفيف اللطيف هذا كل يوم مقاطع جديدة. فاشتركوا وتأكد انكم فعل جرس التنبيهات، وخلونا يا شباب نشوف لكم الماب الجديد مسرب يا شباب.
Earlier this year when I said you could see the new Warzone map in a trailer, everyone called me crazy. Well, not only was I right, but now you can see the new Warzone map for yourself.
Yep.
Not only can you fly around the entirety of the brand new Warzone map, Avalon, which will eventually release as part of
افالون اسم الماب يا شباب.
I honestly think I can say this looks like it might be one of the best Warzone maps of all time. We're
طالعوا كيف
unique points of interest. We're talking
طالعوا كيف يا شباب، ترى خليط
really good lighting.
في ملعب.
Honestly, I think it's an absolute crime that we're
في ملعب كورة وملعب مضمار سباق. هذا يا شباب كأنه شوية البيوت الحمراء يذكرني بالماب ذاك الدفش، بس أحسه أفضل لأنه ما في حفر شوارع يا شباب.
To rewind a little bit, many months ago when Black Ops 6 was first revealed, there was a short clip segment which showed a missile flying over a river, and it seemed that the area around it was far too detailed. Now, flash forward to now, we can actually
هذه المنطقة تذكرني
by loading into any multiplayer map
تذكرني بماب بعد لعبنا فيه.
The entirety of the map for Avalon is indeed there. You can do this yourself on your own console or PC by going into theater mode for Black Ops 6 and literally just flying around the map, and you can see everything that was going to come to the brand new version of Black Ops 6's Warzone, with all of the new Omni movement and all of the new systems. Avalon looks incredible. We're talking an F1 racing track, we're talking football stadium.
هذه المنطقة كأنها بعد نفس الشيء من الورزون القديمة.
We're talking golf courses, we're talking bridges. This map looks like it
عجبني بصراحة، مو صحراوي واجد.
Previous Warzone maps that we've had, مسرب،
دنيا خضراء حلوة.
فردانسك, and basically mashed it into one.
خليط شفتوا؟
This is going away from dense urban environments that we're seeing.
هذا خليط يا شباب، فردانسك والسجن هناك.
Of interest that people found cool and interesting, like in the original Verdansk map. Honestly, after flying around the map, looking at the colors, looking at some of the points of interest and some of the cover that they've
هذا يا شباب حلبة.
general landscape and what they've hoped to achieve.
حلبة حقت روما كان شبه السجن.
It's going to be so much fun, and I'm so disappointed that we aren't getting our hands on it sooner. If you fly around this map yourself, and you're more than welcome to do so whilst watching this video or checking it out at a later date. By the way, make sure to drop a like on this video and subscribe if you want to see more. You will just see the sheer amount of thought and attention, the detail that's gone into everything.
كبير الماب. واو شوفوا هنا المناطق.
Have their own unique standpoints. Everything looks like in terms of cover.
أحسن حاجة يا شباب بالنسبة لي الآن هو إن الماب مخاضر، دنيا خضراء مو صحراوي تعور العيون، دنيا خضراء في ظلال.
And I have no doubt in my mind
this
probably is going to be the best Warzone map we've had when it finally releases. The only contentious point of this map is the water, and there seems to be a fair amount of it, but there are islands between the water that means that people are probably going to use the actual traversal for it a little bit more, and we know the Treyarch is fond of things like helicopters, boats, jet skis.
نهر طويل.
They love traversal generally from their blackout days. So it wouldn't surprise me to see an overwhelming introduction of things like that. This map may also have a ship on it at some point that resembles Hijacked if we're lucky. And it's something we have seen in other promotional material, but isn't in this current version of the box that we can see. The most interesting thing about Avalon is just how detailed this box out is. I'm going to show you a couple of areas that I thought were really cool. I mean, just to start with, we have a full-blown F1 style track going on here through this little low town.
يا أخي ننزل شوي.
Do feature in multiplayer. This is in fact low town itself over here, which is part of the multiplayer segment, which is why
ننزل شوي خلينا نشوف.
But there is a full F1 style map going through sort of a small town. This town is very reminiscent of something we've seen in Fortune's Keep before. Small alleyways, lots of decent little rooftops to work with. But what really strikes me about this map is the sheer quantity of water. Now,
والله في ماي واجد صحيح.
areas, and this, you know, very low detailed poly of the game is showing some really cool stuff like
ايوه ننزل فوقنا شوي قاعد تدور لي فوق.
really cool firing positions, or like tunnels that work their way through the map so you could go from A to B, or really large bridges. We are seeing a fairly hefty amount of water. If I pull this all the way
صحيح.
back, we are seeing lots of
في ماي
different
واجد.
island-like masses. We're also seeing a few more
صحيح توني
points of
انتبه.
interest. And there are some really good POIs on this, and we will go through them. But lots of water. You know, Avalon as a map seemingly features 2 distinct main rivers that sort of go through and connect to one another that then reach out to the sea. It's a very interesting thing to see. And then over here, probably my favorite point of interest in this map is the football stadium. A full-blown football stadium with, by the looks of it, an accessible interior because you can see parts of the poly that haven't rendered clear.
يا شباب الملعب هذا يعتبر كأنه أخذته من فاندال الصغير.
Show entries and exits, which would have been great.
فحلو
We have an
بصراحة.
arena attached to that football stadium. This map just has so much going on.
الماي
Lots of
واجد.
little docklands, lots of little individual buildings,
عيب
lots
الماي.
of coastal and beach-like fights, which probably would have taken place over some of these points of interest. Helipads, there's just so much going on. There's also a military-style base in this general vicinity, something, of course, that we've seen in lots of previous Warzone maps, and that connects as well over to this segment here. Again, similar kind of setup, and this is actually where the training arena takes place in the game, which is how we saw Avalon in the first place, and how we knew it was going to be part of Black Ops 6.
وهنا بعد في
This is the
جزيرة.
training arena, which features as part of these military islands, and a lot of this actually has seemingly quite shallow water, so getting from point A to point B around here seems to be easier. We're seeing radar towers and radar dishes. We're seeing full-blown arrays for military use. There is some really cool stuff going on in Avalon, and honestly, every time I just fly through this thing,
يا رجل.
I think it's such a big shame that we're just not seeing this map. At least not soon by the looks of things. It looks like Verdansk is coming first, but even this is just a silly little dockland with a couple of cranes, a warehouse, but it's got so much character. All of these ridgeline areas.
والله اتمنى ان فردانسك اول. هذا الماب حليو بصراحه مره رهيب عجبني لكن الماي زايد. والله ماي زايد واجد ماي.
in a Warzone setting. This bridge, this beach line, you know, these caves. There is so much going on in this map that feels super, super positive. Even stuff basic like, you know, warehouses and its surrounding areas have detail, have character. They've clearly thought out of a sort of half-constructed ship with a helipad on it. This feels like a map that really would have come to life in a Warzone scenario. You know, a map that really feels like it's got a lot.
لازم أحس.
And all of these points of interest just feel really iconic. And
لازم يتضيق كبير طالع.
Detailed versions of them.
واجد في
denying that
تفاصيل.
these are absolutely drowning in character. Where Urzikstan has struggled because it sort of doesn't have very distinct POIs, it's safe to say that Avalon does have very distinct POIs. It's got castle ruins with innards, it's got football stadiums, it's got what looks like some kind of waste disposal plant. It's got a gigantic bridge with 3 of them running through the map. Some of them are a little bit more old-timey like this one, some of them are a bit more modern. There's just a lot going on to love.
السيناريوهات بتصير حلوة.
Areas like this, you know, this isn't a highly densely populated area, but very thought out cover, boxes in places and locations that would have allowed for like
حلو ذا
a
المكان.
speedball style gameplay scenario.
حلو.
This map deserves to be in Warzone. You know, with no doubt in my mind, Avalon probably when it releases formally is going to be possibly one of the best Warzone maps of all time. Like the verticality feels right. There isn't too much of it. There isn't too little of it. The water is probably the most divisive opinion across all of this. But if they add a bunch of jet skis, they add a bunch of boats and add cool ways to traverse the water and zip lines, I don't think people will hate it that much. You know, we've even got a golf course on this map. We've got a hotel on this map. We've got an old abandoned town and churchyard on this map.
Allah
that also feels really well built. You know, this entire map is just absolutely screaming of having buckets and buckets of character all throughout, and very much thoughtful character too. You know, some of this stuff is low poly and you can't get a huge glimpse of what it looks like, especially this compound here. But in terms of the general design, the flow from point to point, the fact that you can go from this old abandoned town with a church tower to a highly built up dense skyline block to a dockland to
طبعا لازم يكون في زبلاين يا شباب ده اللي يخليك تطير مهم جدا لأن كبير الماب واجد.
Not having too much cover and not having too little cover. But when you get to a POI, it's dense.
هذه المنطقة يا شباب نفس الشيء اللي في فاندال.
It's unique.
ماخذين من فاندال واجد أماكن بس حلوة يعني.
Like you could feel that all throughout the town. The most densely built up area in this game is probably this segment here between the low town area there and the upper town area here, which features a bunch of hotels and sort of skylines.
بيوت
And
واجد
even
هنا.
then, it's not massively dense, and it's safe to say that, you know, from moving point A to point B, teams who kind of play position would have benefited a lot in this.
عجبتني البيوت يا شباب، صار كلها بارتفاع واحد، لو تلاحظوا كلها بارتفاع واحد، مو عمارة وش قدها طويلة مرة. هذا شيء حلو بصراحة، أفضل، خصوصا لما أنا أروح أخذ لي باونتي أشوف واحد متعلق فوق لازم أركب له ومنخش وكبير. يعني الماب اللي قاعدين نلعب فيه حاليا آخر ماب ذا الوارزون في عمارات بس طويلة واجد.
Really would have enjoyed this, and I really hope we see parts of this come to the game soon. There's some very methodical detail in some places as well. So this is like an intersection point for all of the waterways that you're seeing in the map here. There are a bunch of cave systems and stuff that the map is clearly trying to use, so there will be kind of an emphasis on a bit of exploration and moving around the map and discovering things. But something like this feels great to me because it's got, you know, a train system running through it. There's an entryway and exit way, a tunnel system, multiple zip lines onto what is very obviously a strong power position roof that allows you to control 2 bridges and have a really good sightline over most of the map. Hell, 3 bridges even if you count this one over here. It just feels like this has been a combination of all the maps.
صحيح.
They took our map.
خليط.
They took Kazakhstan. They took Ferdانسك and they said.
شباب هذا مخطط له في المستقبل، مسرب للماب الآن. اللي راح ينزل أول هو فردانسك، إن شاء الله على الشهر الجاي في نوفمبر هو ينزل فردانسك. أنا متحمس لفردانسك أكثر طبعا أكيد، بس ده بصراحة أسطوري الماب. عيب الوحيد هي ماي واجد فيه، بيسوي عليه تعديلات يمكن يا شباب، لأنه يمكن هذا بعد سنة ينزلوا ذا الماب مو الحين. فاكتبوا لي تحت في التعليقات كم نسبة حماسكم للوارزون. خلال يومين راح انزل لكم مقطع جديد ملتي بلاير. اذا عساكم تاكد انك تفعل جرس التنبيهات، ومع السلامة.